Hi there everybody, this is Tony Messer with a website video review, and today I'm looking at GeorgeMcIverLimited.com. So let's head over there and get started. Okay, so here we are, and George McIver Limited, they are suppliers of aircraft ground support equipment to the aviation industry. So all of the sort of hardware that keeps the airports functioning. You can see all of these images here. That shows exactly what they do. So let's have a look at a few basics, and the first thing that I want to have a look at is the choice of keywords and the use of the keywords. So if we right click on view page source, then we can see here on line 7, this is very important. So this is the meta tag, the page title element. Very, very important, probably the most important meta tag in terms of Google and the other search engines. And we can see here, worldwide supplier of aircraft ground support equipment. And I would imagine this is the keyword which George is targeting. So if I put that into a tool which will analyze that particular keyword, we can see here that it's getting around 40 searches per month, which isn't really a lot. However, when you consider the niche that George operates in, this particular market, it's not a consumer type industry where there's going to be thousands and thousands of searches per month. This is probably a low volume of transactions, but they're of searches, but it's because it's a very specialized area, so that's to be expected. But what I would say is, and I've noticed when I go through the different pages, if I just do another one here, I can see that we're using that keyword aircraft ground support equipment, and here we've put suppliers, quite heavily. And what I would be tempted to do is to try to broaden that search a little bit, try to find some more keywords. And I think the key to this is when I look in the stock page, for example, we've got here, we're looking at tugs. Now these are the aircraft tugs. These are what pull the aircraft around the airport. Then we've got the stairs. And what I would be tempted to do is to get some keywords around these particular ones, not tugs, because that could be a tugboat, or stairs could be any type of stairs. You need to be very specific about aircraft stairs and aircraft loaders, stock loaders, as they're called here. So I would be tempted to search for some more keywords and use those throughout the different pages. Okay, so that's the first thing that we've covered. Next up, let's have a look at the URLs, and by the URLs all I mean is the particular page name. So we've got here stock.html. URLs are one of the important ways that Google determines what's on a particular page, and here it can just see stock. It doesn't really understand what's going on, because stock could refer to a whole range of things. I mean, stock could refer to gravy stock, or it could refer to stock in a warehouse. It could just be anything. So I think you need to be more specific here. So here I'd be tempted to put aircraft ground equipment current stock or something like that. You can call this page stock, although I would be tempted to call it something slightly different to highlight exactly what it is, but definitely in the URL. And again here, the headings that we're using, and you'll find all of this in the keyword mastery workbook, which you can find below this video. So here we've got stock, and this is actually an image, because I can sort of grab hold of that and move it. Again, Google places a high emphasis on certain on-page factors, and one of the most important ways that it does that is through the use of headings. Now headings is a bit like when you create a Word document. You separate each section using a particular heading, and in HTML terms, these are the main headings are H1, H2 and H3, and H1 has the highest priority. And ideally on each page, the first heading that you come across, the H1, should have the particular relevant keyword in there. And that's what I would try to do on each of these pages, is try to include that H1 heading with a keyword in there related to that particular page. Now, to just round up when it comes to the on-page side of things, and remember, on-page, this is like an open book exam. You control this. You have control over your website, so it's important to get those all-important points on the board. So here, for example, on this page, I want to talk about linking, the internal linking structure, because you can create loads of links throughout the different pages of your website. And here, for example, we've got the keyword aircraft ground support equipment. I'd like to see a link from that page, from this text here, taking me to this particular page, or whichever relevant one it is. And maybe you could talk about here, so here, look, aircraft tugs, so that should link to this particular page here where you talk about the aircraft tugs. So think about that throughout your website, and one way to do that, and we'll come back to text in a minute, is to increase the amount of text on each of the pages. I think you're a bit short on text here, George. I would be tempted to put more on there and use that opportunity to have links through to different pages of the websites. But I'll come back to the text and the copywriting aspects of things in a moment. Okay, so we've looked at some of the on-page areas for improvements. So let's now have a look at some off-page. And remember that off-page, you have less control over these. With the on-page, it's like an open book exam. You have the opportunity to influence Google. With off-page, it's more difficult, but what we're looking for here are links coming back to your website. Now, if I use the tool that I mentioned earlier, SEO Profiler, I can see that at the moment George has got one link coming back to his website, and if I compare that to some of his suppliers, that will explain why they may be getting a better position than George. But not all isn't lost. We can definitely help you to fight back and start pushing your way up the search rankings. And one place to start is to have a look at some common pages where your competitors are linking, because if that's where they're linking, the chances are it shouldn't be too difficult for you to get a link there as well. So again, I've used this tool, and this shows us where your competitors are getting links from. It sort of color codes it and shows them, well, you know, all of these competitors are getting links there, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be. Now, some of them, for example, business.com, that's just a standard directory. You have to pay to get listed there. It's high quality though. A link there is probably worth getting. But then we start moving into these ones, things like Aviation Pros, Airline Update, GSE Suppliers, Aviation Today. These all sound to me as if they're industry publications, industry directories, or niche directories. So definitely worth thinking about looking to get some links there. And what I'll do, George, is I'll send that to you separately. Okay. So that's a starting point to get some links. And if you go through the link building workbook, PDF workbook, that will give you some more ideas for that type of thing. You can get links from suppliers by offering testimonials. You can get links from, say, industry accredited industry specialist directories, that type of thing. So use the workbook, go through there, and get some nice, quick, easy wins for yourself. Now, another area that I think you can really use to your advantage is to have a blog on your website. And I've got there's a content marketing workbook that I'd like to go through. And basically, if you look at your website, if you look at George's website at the moment, it's static. It's not really changing much. It's not being updated. But if I look at some of his competitors, let's just choose one or two of them. These guys here, then they've got a blog. It's not updated, if memory serves me correctly, particularly often. Let's just go and have a quick look at it. So here we are, May 22nd, March 8th, October the 8th, 2012. So it's not being updated that often. And my feeling is that if you were to look through your major competitors, they're not going to be updating their websites that often, and I think that's a huge opportunity for you. And I think a lot of people get nervous about blogs because they think, I just won't know what to write about. But you know, you've just got to take your industry, you've got to take every particular angle and turn it inside out and look at it back to front, upside down, left to right, right to left, diagonally. You've just got to cut everything up and use that content for your blog. Now, initially you just want to seed your blog, and that's what my content marketing workbook will show you how to do. You just want to get Google to pick up on all of these keywords that you're providing for it, and the content that you're providing. But I've got a few ideas for you when it comes to your social media strategy, and we'll look at those in a moment. But a really important starting point is to think about who is your ideal customer, and use the letter of letters marketing templates PDF that I've given you, because that will that will help you to identify who that person is, and it will help you to identify, really, really important, what are their main issues, what are their main needs, and you can write content in your blog that addresses all of that. So that's an important point to consider. Now, in terms of social media, I would classify you very much as being a niche, and the reason for that is that the area of speciality that you've got is is quite narrow. It's a very specialised field. You're not offering consumer products, a whole range of products. You're focused in on one particular area. And I think a good strategy that would work for you would be to use YouTube, create videos. Short videos. You don't have to do sort of 30-40 minutes technical videos, but just short videos identifying a particular feature, highlighting the functionality and features of the various products that you provide to the industry. And you can upload them to YouTube and then embed them into your blog posts, transcribe the text that as you speak over the video, and there you've got a particular blog post that talks about a particular, whatever it may be. It could be a diesel tug, or it could be each of them will have their own features, or the aircraft stairs, which type of aircraft they're suitable for, the size of aircraft, numbers, I don't know, all the sorts of different features that you've got on there. But don't make great big long half-hour videos. Just cut them up into short 2 to 3 minute videos, and I think that would be a good strategy for you, and that will enable you that will give you a really good run in terms of content. Don't worry too much about you haven't got to make a Spielberg classic. You haven't got to get really expensive cameras and lighting and that type of thing. Probably an iPhone or a digital SLR camera would be more than sufficient for you. And as I say, when you've got the videos, embed them into your blog posts, create text underneath them, and link back to the particular product that you're talking about. So Google will always keep finding those internal links and go back to them. In terms of social media strategy, I think LinkedIn is probably the place to go for you. I've just done a quick search on aviation groups here. I mean, there's hundreds, or dozens, if not hundreds of them. So I think you should maybe look to get involved in groups in LinkedIn and establish yourself as an authority in your area. Answer questions, pose questions, take part. Also, look for blogs in your particular niche. You can use LinkedIn to find journalists as well. There'll be aviation journalists. Again, reach out to them, start posting in forums, and just getting people to be aware of who you are and the services that you provide. Okay, so now I'd like to focus a little bit more on the actual conversion aspects of your website. Remember, in my book, The Lazy Website Syndrome, we've got 3 points you need to consider. Prospect, which is getting people to your website. Convert, which is converting those visitors into subscribers or customers. And then grow, which is growing a long-term relationship with them. So we've done the prospect, which is the keywords, getting people to your website and the social media, that type of thing. Now we're looking at conversion, and the first thing that strikes me on this website is there's a lot of white space at the top here, and I think that could be definitely put to better use. I would certainly like to see contact details prominently displayed high on the page, on every single page, to make sure that people, your visitors, know exactly how to get hold of you. The other thing I'd like to see is a bit more impact in terms of the content. Here we've got welcome to the website, and that's a standard phrase. I think what you need to do is, again, think about your ideal customer, think about what their needs are, and give them some kind of headline which encapsulates what it is that you do, and give them some kind of promise. And I've had a bit of a thought on that for you. And the sort of thing that I was thinking along the lines of was something like improving airline punctuality and reducing ground support costs. That's giving them 2 promises. You're going to help them to ensure, because that's probably their biggest issue, is making sure that their airport is running, like a well-oiled machine, and that's where you come into play. But also, you're improving the punctuality, because that's a big issue for airlines, making sure that things aren't getting held up because there's equipment shortages or things are broken down or whatever. And and then the other side of the coin is you're reducing costs. So that's just an idea, but I would like to see something a bit more impactful there in terms of the headline. as I say, give them a promise. Another thing that I'd like to see is some supplier accreditations. Which suppliers do you use? Do you have any particular accreditations? Also, do you have testimonials? Often it's not so much what we say about ourselves, it's what our customers say about us. So I'd like to see a bit more of that, a bit more prominently displayed on the website. And I'm sure that you've got them, or if you haven't, usually it's just a question of just reaching out and just asking people if they could provide some kind of testimonial for you. Don't forget, if you're not comfortable with the word testimonial, then you may want to use things like case studies. Case studies are very, very powerful and very persuasive, because they enable you not only to give customer feedback, but also to demonstrate a particular area of skill that you have. Another thing that I think would be of useful that you may want to consider is having some kind of free download, some kind of free reports for your customer, and it could be something along the lines of a buyer's guide. And if we go back to the stock page here, we've got tugs, stairs, loaders, ground, power units, miscellaneous. And I bet if you and I sat down, you could probably give me chapter and verse on the different types of each one, and which one's best for which situation, which type is best for which type of aircraft, or which type is best for which particular type of airport. So I think a buyer's guide, detailed buyer's guide, would be really, really useful to have. And I notice here on your contact page you say, do you need help selecting aircraft ground support equipment? We're experienced and are here to help. Well, why don't you anticipate that need, which you have done, but instead of making it something where they need to make a phone call, whether they can just do it from the comforts of their own office or wherever it is they're located, give them some kind of free report that they can download. And if you want to, you could even link that up to an email autoresponder tool like Aweber, and that way you've got their contact details in return for a valuable piece of free information, and you can then follow up with them electronically and automatically by email. Once you've got people in a list, you can then send them monthly updates. It could be updates to your blog or whatever, or even maybe a printed newsletter. In your industry, I imagine there's not thousands and thousands of people that you're targeting, so a targeted printed newsletter could be a good way to keep in front of your ideal customer. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot of ground there, but let's just have a quick summary of that and look at some quick action steps for George. Okay, so meta tags. Vary the use of the keywords throughout your site. Refer to that keyword mastery PDF. It's very important that you mix up your meta tags a little bit to make sure that you're spreading the keywords around. And on that note, target more of the long tail keywords. Make them much more precise, and if necessary, create pages that are focused on these. These are the ones, for example, when we're looking at the tugs and the stairs and that type of thing. URLs, make sure that you're including your keywords in your URLs, especially if you're adding new pages, but don't be frightened to go back and do the existing ones. At the moment your ranking isn't particularly high. I don't think it will impact it that much. In terms of your headings, make sure that you've got them, that you include them, make sure that they are text and that you include those keywords in there on all pages, and that refers to everything. When we talk about URLs, headings, meta tags, do all of the pages, and the keyword mastery document will show you exactly how to do that. Make sure that your internal links are all set up. Use your keywords as the anchor text and make sure they link to the relevant pages. I would like to see a bit more text on all of the pages so that you can get those all important internal links in there and give Google a bit more to chew on, as it were. Get some easy wins. Look at the link building PDF and go for some easy, quick linking wins. Look for aviation related websites and find the ones where your competitors are listed. Look at offering maybe some testimonials to suppliers. If you've got any that in your particular niche, that would be very relevant. And I would definitely look to set up a blog and focus it around areas of interest to your ideal customer. In terms of social media, videos, YouTube, you don't have to be really expensive, 2 to 3 minutes only. Focus on a particular feature or highlight a feature of a particular product or service that you have. Use those videos in your blog post, transcribe the text so you've got that content, and then make sure that you do link back to those internal pages. And in the content marketing PDF, it gives you a checklist that will show you each blog that you create. It gives you a checklist to make sure that you include some very important points to make sure you get more bang for your buck when you're actually creating those blog posts. I'd use LinkedIn. Look out for your ideal customer. That's where you're probably going to find them much more so than on the other social networks. Reach out to them. Maybe create your own LinkedIn group, or if not, join others. Start contributing. And this is a great way to get more ideas for your blog, because that's where all sorts of questions will arise. Look for authority websites in your market. Reach out and look to offer your expertise. You can offer to do some guest blogging, for example. Make sure you've got your contact details prominently shown on all pages, and I would definitely use up that white space at the top of your website. That's valuable real estate on a website. It's above the fold, so make use of that. Try to come up with a powerful headline. Think about your customer. What are the issues that face them? And the one that I've come up with, and I've just made this up off the top of my head, so improving airline punctuality and reducing ground support costs. But the point is, try to give them a promise of what you can deliver for them. Trust. Use testimonials, supplier logos, accreditations. Show them prominently on your website. They don't need to be above the fold, not at the top of the website, but some way down as people view them, and put them on all pages. Do you have some kind of free report that you could put together? Things like specialised buyer's guide. Just have a bit of a brainstorming session with your team and put together some great informative buyer's guide for things like tugs, de-icers, stairs, loaders, that type of thing. And then just making sure that you're keeping your subscribers up to date on your blog, your email subscribers, maybe your LinkedIn groups when you've got some new content. Think about maybe a monthly newsletter. If you can print one, if you can get people's names and addresses, that's a good way to stay in contact with people. Okay, there's quite a lot of stuff in there to be thinking about, but you don't need to worry about doing it all in a day. You've got plenty of time to do that. But in terms of priorities and quick wins, I would focus on these initially to get some traction. Put more text on all pages. Make sure that you've got the headings in there and link to the other pages. Try to get some links as quickly as possible. Things like directories, industry websites, suppliers, that type of thing. Definitely consider setting up a blog. I'd recommend WordPress. It's free, it's easy to install. Use the content marketing workbook to show you exactly how to do that, and create some relevant content for your audience. Product reviews, things like short videos highlighting the features of the products that you have. That would be perfect. Create some buyer's guides for the main product lines and display this on your website, and join some LinkedIn groups and participate in the online conversation. Okay, so I hope that was useful, and it would be great to get your feedback from everybody who watches this video. So just put your comments below. We would welcome them, and it's great to hear from you. Okay, thanks very much then. Bye bye.